Welcome to Ring of Fire.
I'm Alex Barr, doula and educator.
And I'm Emmy the Birth Wizard.
This is where we talk about the tough moments of birth work
and help you transition into fire starters.
Start streaming. All right, we're live. And we're sleepy and we need to wake up.
Hey guys! Welcome to Ring of Fire, where I'm Emmy, the Birth Wizard.
And I'm Alex Barr.
I don't know what the deal was.
Doulacator.
Doulacator.
I said that without laughing this time.
You did.
And I have laughed every single time that's come out of my mouth since we discovered it.
Why? Why is it funny?
It just sounds so goofy to me.
Oh, I mean, like, anything that's, like, two smash words together, I feel sounds a little goofy.
Yeah.
It feels very, like, hey, guys, I got this hot idea. Let's sell it to the kids, right? Like,
yeah.
We take Taco Bell and we smash it together with this, and it makes that, right? Like,
yeah.
It has that vibe. We're doing an exciting episode today. We're doing, How to Doula It. One
Yay.
of those episodes, they were received so well, and I think it's because you and I experience this. There's not a ton of information out there. And if it is out there for how to start up a doula business or like how to operate in this business, it's from someone who's like fully trying to sell you something.
Yes. Everybody's trying to sell you something or how you can make it work like they did. And
yeah,
it's rough.
So, and I think part of it is too, a lot of times people don't go into this thinking of it as a business.
Yeah.
So there's already that lacking understanding or knowledge when they go into it because they think like either if they do believe it's a business, this might be their first exposure to running a business ever.
Yeah.
To be frank, a lot of the individuals who do go into this work tend to be coming from stay-at-home positions from their lives before and then coming into it. They tend to be stay-at-home parents and then becoming doulas. Or, again, they haven't done it before. So.
And I'm fully guilty of that, of not realizing that this was going to be a business.
Yeah.
And not understanding that if I didn't want to join an agency or do something differently, that I was fully going to be running a business. And I still say sometimes now, like, if someone would have told me that this was a business, I was starting a business, I might have thought about it differently. It's because it is so hard.
It's very difficult, and I think part of that difficulty is, I mean, there's a lot of factors to starting a business and understanding that, like, learning curve is steep. And it's even steeper if you happen to be in a community that you don't feel that support or you're not already connected into.
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter what business you go into. That's all of them. That's completely all of them. I think it's interesting because I come from the opposite side. I fully understood this was a business. I reached a point in my life where I'm like, I want to start a business. Which one should I start? So I went between three. Yeah. I had the full discussion of I would become a personal organizer because I'm neurodivergent, and I thought that would be great to have a neurodivergent personal organizer for those who need that extra help and get systems into place. Didn't love that. And it's mostly because a lot of those individuals end up in hoarding kind of situations, and I'm not equipped for that.
Yeah.
And it would have taken a lot of training to be equipped for them.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't love that the business is kind of centered around, like, let me take beautiful photos of cabinets.
Yes.
And
not, like, how you can help people.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe later in life. Who knows? Yeah. The other one I had come up with is an IBCLC, and I fully looked into that, and then I was like, that will take a lot of time. Yeah. I don't...
And we know that's not fully off the table.
No, for sure not. But at that time, I was like, that's going to be a lot more to upstart it. I won't be able to have that satisfaction of, I'm ready right now to upstart this thing. I would have to go to school and find mentorship, all of that. And then the third one was doula, and I was like, I could do this. Yeah, I looked on the Dono website.
And you are doing this.
Right.
Yeah.
I looked on the Dono website, and I can do it in 6 weeks. So, completely different mindsets when we were going into it. I fully saw it as a business.
I have always been looking for, like, what I wanted to do, and I found different things, but I fully thought it was going to be, like, a server bartender, like, until I had my kids and my kids were older, and then I would figure it out. And then I kind of got, like, punched in the face with, like, oh, people need help now.
Yeah.
So here I am, kind of thing, right? And so that's where it's like, it's definitely what I'm fully called to do, and I feel that I need to do. It's the business side. I'm kind of like, ugh.
I'm sure
if anybody could take that off my plate, I'd be so appreciative.
I'm sure there's plenty who believe this way too, where they go into it and they're like, oh, never mind. Or even like, man, this isn't what I was expecting. And, you know, that's where I really shout out agencies being such a great resource, especially if you're a newer doula who's like, never mind. I really like the supporting part, but not the business part. Agencies are great for that because someone else is taking care of that business side for you, making some of those decisions, and like that decision fatigue can kind of go away. You still have to work. You still have to do the work. To support people. You still get to support people, but it does take it in a different form. And I find that a lot of people end up having this question, and Alex has been to enough networking things with me where I talk openly about pricing and openly about like how to charge, and like it's usually my conversation with most people of like, what are you charging? How much? What do you offer with that? Because I find it's not a discussion happening in the open, even though the person I'm talking to is also helping to sell my prices. So I truly see it as like a public service.
Are charging is important. And just to go back a little bit, I will fully say that because I feel so passionate about this work, and because this is what I feel like I need to do, that's what's pushing me to go to networking events, to market, to put my face all over the internet, like to be so open and do these things that past me would be absolutely mortified. Like that I'm doing, is because I'm like, okay, I have to make this work so that I can continue to do that. And part of that is what we're charging.
Yes.
Right? I still have to live. I still have to pay rent. I still have to figure out how to make this sustainable. And we talk a lot about how we do that. And part of that is pricing correctly.
Yeah.
And I've seen you. And what's interesting is so many people, at least in our area, do not put their prices on their website, which I find very interesting, because I think personally that price transparency is so important for your industry, but also for your clients.
Yeah.
People, it's hard when you are not a part of an industry to go to a website and be like, there's no price here. They could want to charge me like $200, or they could charge me $3,000. And I've always had this understanding of like, that prevents people from reaching out. Right? Interesting. Because I think it's kind of, I don't know if it's intentional, but sometimes it is like well, I want you to like me so much that you'll still pay. Sometimes people can't pay. And I've been in that situation where I'm like, the gap of my understanding of how much this is going to cost is too wide.
So I can tell just off of like that notion alone, you and I have different ideas on it. Because I fully leave them off because I think of myself as a fancy French restaurant. Like, you need to be like having a nice dress when you come to my place, and like there's a reason the prices are off of here. Yeah. Because I want you to know you're having a quality experience, and your card will make it.
That's fascinating.
If you're already interacting with my stuff, it's because you want a money experience. You want a high quality experience. So that's why I leave mine off, because I'm fully trying to signal, like, if you're asking yourself, can I afford you? Yeah. Then I don't want you as clients. Like, sorry guys. Part of my sustainability is making sure that I don't fuck around with people who are like, well, I saw your price, but you're like a little out of my price range. Yeah. No.
See, and I think that's fully understandable. Yeah. 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 And that's why I say I don't think it's like purposeful. No. But I definitely do try to be very transparent.
For sure.
And we should be at least transparent within our industry. For sure. And with the people that are professionals with us, right?
And it's happened before where people have emailed me being like, what is your range, or how much do you charge? And I always clarify, like, this is what you get when you hire me, and this is how much it costs. Yeah. I want to make it clear that I am not a newbie doula nor an inexpensive doula, or I am fully the doula that will charge you, quote unquote, an arm and a leg. Okay, guys, like...
But there's a reason for it.
There's a reason for it, and it's because I'm dedicated.
Yeah.
And I only take on about 3 clients a month, so I really want to make sure...
You have to charge enough to do that.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I have considered, though, in kind of your vein of, like, maybe I should put it on there.
Yeah.
But I think it would, honestly, like... I go back and forth because I'm like, if I put it up there, then it will fully scare away people of being like, oh, price. Like, I think all they see is price then instead of service.
Yeah.
But I fully agree with you. It should be transparent. So
the reason I feel that is that if this was a restaurant, right, there's a reasonable amount, right? If I'm ordering a salad, I know it's not going to cost $1,000, right? Even at a fancy restaurant.
Yeah.
When we step into these realms of places we have no understanding of, it can be like, right? Like, I want to go to a birth center. I want to go to a midwife. Is that going to cost $2,000? Is that going to cost $15,000? I don't know. Cover it? Yeah, like there's so much more to that's where I go with being transparent. But I understand what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you determine your price? Was there like a number right off your head? You're like, this is what I'm charging, or how did you do your like negotiation? I guess.
So you can't be mad at me, but I did not do anything that we're about to talk about.
That's okay. I think it would be good to show the journey of like where we started, because I'm going to fully admit like how I started and how I did the calculation. So I'd like to hear yours, and then we'll go from there.
Truly looked at what other people were charging.
Yeah.
Right. So I truly looked at what other people were charging in our area.
What did you put into consideration of that? Because I mean, you could look up 100 doulas, and they all charge a little bit different.
I looked at like Doula Match. I looked at some of the doulas that I had met. I had been at that point when I started charging, I had done 5 free births already. Like, did not charge anybody, so any amount of money seemed good. To be fair. But I started at 900. I felt like it wasn't going to be the lowest. Yeah, wasn't going to be the highest. And I did a couple births at 900, and I was like, there's not enough money, right? There's times where you're at a birth, or you're driving to a client's house again, or you're, I don't know, just being on call, and you're like, am I getting paid enough for this? Yeah. Right? And I don't ever want to feel that way, because obviously 100% I'm there for my client. Mm-hmm. But again, like I said, you have a life that you are putting on hold to support these people. Yeah. And sometimes I am in consults and I'm explaining what doulas do, and they're like, you do all of that? Like, they're very surprised by what we offer. Yes. So I only did a couple at 900, and then I bumped mine to 12. Okay. Yeah. So, and I don't do photography. I am 1, terrible at it, and 2, I really feel like for me, it would pull me out. Yeah. It would fully pull me out of supporting that person, right? Yeah. Because I'll take a picture here or there, especially if it's a cute moment, like that kind of thing. But that's not what I'm there for. For sure. And if people want that, I suggest that they hire somebody for that. Right. Right? Yeah. So it's $1,200 but for my birth services. And
how many prenatals do you do?
I do 2. Right. So there is driving that's involved with that. Especially if you're only compared to if you're doing 1. Yeah. And then I do a postpartum visit, and then I do in-home support often as well. So
and then is your education included with that, since you're a doula-cator?
No.
Do you have a package where that's included?
Kind of. Essentially, my doula clients get like $100 off of any of my classes. Okay. So because I understand that if they're taking my classes, that there's less for me to talk about in those prenatals, right? Yeah. In the prenatals, I'm trying to talk about what I think is relevant to them and relevant to their birth. But with my classes, I know all of that stuff will be covered.
Gotcha. And then is there anything else you do? Because, man, if there's a service out there, there's a doula who offers it.
I offer evening and overnight postpartum support for my own clients. I don't do them for other people.
Okay.
Just as a way to hopefully continue that care.
And do they buy those in like hour by hour, or are there like blocks, or is this still kind of like...
It's still kind of a new thing.
Gotcha.
See what happens.
Cool. All right.
See what happens in the moment.
All right. And I think that's very fair pricing, especially for about a year ago, which is really when like you kicked off really hard. Yeah. So that makes sense. When I started, it was January of 2020. I looked around and I did what we're going to talk about here in a moment, but I did the full price breakdown, and I figured out for my first 3 births, I was going to charge $500. So that way I could get the DONA certification. Because again, January 2020, nothing bad is going to happen in the world. So I didn't have to be certified yet.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be, because I felt that was important. Yeah. Because my only exposure to doulas were essentially ones that I looked up online. Yeah. So I was like, this is important. I should do that. Yeah. So I discounted the services down to $500. I only did 1 birth at $500. The rest I charged $1,200. Yeah. And I did that very quickly because of that price breakdown. And I just looked at the expenses and I was like, I just need to be able to make enough to make this make sense. Yeah. And I fully could not make sense of anything more. It's really funny because I went back recently to like update my doula match that I'd forgotten about for like almost 2.5 years. And so there's a package there for $800 originally, and it was called Sight of Tranquility. I even had cute little names because I'm birth wizard, so I came up with cute names. But that came with 2 prenatals for $800. Yeah. So I was like right along with everyone else at that point. Yeah. That was pretty average, especially for an uncertified doula at around that time. And I think it was probably a little bit after I posted that I raised my prices.
Like almost immediately.
$400 after that. Yeah, so let's go over... Oh, the things that I offer. So now at this time, I'll go ahead and explain to you guys, because I always do, of what I charge now. It is $1,500 for base price. That's for me and my doula partner to visit you once, and then in-home or like at the birth support, and then 1 postnatal. That's what you receive. For $1,750, you end up receiving photography, which is 30 edited images. So it's pretty low numbers. Yeah. We typically supply way more than that. Yeah. But our turnaround rate is a week, because I find it inappropriate if you're going to be a doulatog to be giving over photos months later. Even a month later, I find is inappropriate. Yeah. So if you can't turn it around right away, you should stop taking clients. And that's my hot take. I love it. Because people deserve their images quickly, especially after an event like that. And I fully see
processing.
I fully see photography as a processing tool, as a trauma-informed tool. Yeah. From there, in that $1,750, we offer belly binding, which is a session that you can pay for on its own for $110. That's what we value it at. We also offer a piece of education, whether it's childbirth education or a particular one being VBAC or general cesarean. Yeah. And then there's one more thing in there because I offer a lot. That's it. Those are the 3. So.
And you're going to start doing placenta, right? Yeah,
so we're going to be offering placenta here in the next couple of, hopefully by next month. And when that gets offered, we'll be bumping up our prices to $1,750 and $2,000. Yeah. My hope, honestly, if there's any postpartum doulas out there listening, is to get a postpartum doula part of our team. Yeah. So that way, each of our clients receive at least 20 hours as soon as they sign up as a part of their package. Yeah. And then that way that package would be $2,500.
And they get everything.
And then they get everything. Yeah. Because I really feel that postpartum care is very important. I'm just not the soul to do it. Yeah. And so that postpartum doula would be taken care of, and our clients would be fully taken care of. So that's the model we're moving towards, and I really want to make it to where it's sustainable for everyone, and like people are getting paid well. So,
and I don't know if people understand that by not charging enough, you are not making it sustainable, and you are increasing the chance of burning out, having to leave this work because you can't make it work financially.
I think people don't realize that it's much harder to answer your phone at 2 a.m. if you're not being paid well.
Yes.
And
I felt that when I was doing free births, right?
Mm-hmm.
I felt that because it's hard.
Yes.
It's hard to be like, I'm literally losing money here. Yeah. I am losing money to support this person. And I would honestly love to do this for no money. Right? I would love to be like, that is where my heart is, right? But I did learn very quickly that that's not
an option.
That's not an option. And doulas are not accessible to a lot of people, right?
No.
And so that is where I shifted more towards a childbirth educator model, because I saw there was more good that I can do. There's a lower barrier to entry. There's more scholarship opportunities and that kind of stuff, while sustaining a higher price with my doula business and making sure that like the people that I'm taking on as clients are getting the full amount of support that I can offer.
Oh, question, because I do know you offer this. Is your price different for a virtual client versus in person?
Yeah, so it's a little less expensive.
Okay.
I charge like $900. It'll probably go up soon. But that's purely because
you don't have to drive.
I don't have to drive anywhere. I offer that you can call and text me while you're in labor. I will not be on the phone the whole time you're in labor. Right? Okay. So I'm available if you have a question, if you need help, if you need to talk through something, if you need to make a decision, right? You don't know what's going on, that kind of stuff. Similarly, if like your client calls you in early labor kind of thing.
Right.
But I'm not going to be on the phone the whole time.
Okay.
So, and I make that kind of clear, like you need to make sure you have a support person that's going to be your support person, and I'm available for that additional contact if you need it.
Gotcha. All right. You guys ready for that breakdown?
Yes, I'm so ready.
Okay, so we have two different ones.
Okay.
First, if you guys need a moment, I'm going to pause and plug our Discord, so that way you guys can grab a piece of paper and a pen so you can follow along with this activity. Yes. But just a reminder, while you guys go grab that piece of paper and pen, we have a Discord server where you guys can come and hang out with us, where I'm sure I will take a photo of this so you guys don't even have to grab the pen and paper. Look at you joining the Discord server. So go ahead and do that, and then, all right.
We need more friends there.
Yeah.
We are posting our after show there. It's an unlisted link. There's also a lost episode on there. And last week's after show, we did Smash or Pass with cartoon characters. It was really hilarious. It is live now, but you have to go to our Discord to get the link.
Exactly. So there you go. All right. You're back? Of course you're back. And you fully joined that Discord.
I love when people do this on podcasts.
Beautiful. Well, congratulations. We're about to break down your startup costs of having a doula business. So, number one, you guys have heard us say it before. You don't actually have to be a trained doula, right? I'm never going to plug a place that certifies or whatever. You don't have to. That's not a part of this work.
Yeah.
But let's say that you're like, let me do that. Make sure that you've written that down as a part of your costs, your upstart costs. And obviously there's ones that are as little as like $500 all the way up to like $3,000 I've seen.
Who's charging $3,000?
Autonomy Mommy, I believe.
Oh.
Which is close at least.
Yeah. That's a high one, yeah.
Yeah. So it's really dependent on what you want and like what you want it to look like. And if you want it like those trainings to be in person or not, and yada yada. So just keep that in mind, because sometimes that mentoring is in there or whatever your training is. Make sure you write that down as your first cost.
Yeah. Should we write down ours? Or no, we don't need to.
No. I don't fully remember, because it would be embarrassing if I wrote it down.
We've talked about it on the
on
the pod before.
Next one would be books, because typically we end up buying books, whether it's from the training organization that you do, or the like what to expect while you're expecting kind of books, or the like learning about birth kind of books, or the ones that are required reading and what have you.
I have a decent amount that like were required for my birthing advocacy trainings, and I had a bunch for my own personal reasons, and then other people that I support and that I care about and that I'm invested in them sharing their valuable knowledge and stuff. I try to support that as well too.
The other thing to consider, just to keep these costs down, your local library is pretty fucking awesome. Mm-hmm. And if you're someone like me who doesn't read physical books because of whatever your reason, the local library does have audiobooks on an app that you can rent, and then you can do it that way. So it is an option, just to keep these costs down, in case you guys are starting to calculate in your brain and you're already like, woo, we're already getting kind of high.
Yeah, but I can't talk crap about books because I have a bookshelf full.
Second is any educational aids, and I'm talking like posters or like the spinning baby pamphlet things, or like anything that you would like keep in a binder to like refer back to later. I think is a really important thing. On top of it, like the pelvises and the babies, and then like I paid
stuff for your doula bag.
Right, stuff for your doula bag. I paid a local artist to make me a cesarean book. Yeah. So those are a part of that cost. Yeah. I paid that individual almost $120. They made me a cesarean book and 3 different breasts to bring to postnatals to learn about breastfeeding, and like I showed them how to squeeze and that kind of thing, and I made sure they were different sizes and different colors, so that way it was representative. Clothing and shoes, I think, is something to really talk about, because sometimes your normal wardrobe ain't gonna cut it. I've talked openly before that I bought some jumpsuits that I've worn ever since.
The lucky jumpsuits.
For like $6 at Walmart on clearance, and I'll keep singing their praises. But
I haven't found my ideal outfit yet.
It's still my favorite. You throw on like a flannel over top. You look cute. You're warm, right? It's like a vibe. Anyway, that's something to consider though, because maybe your Chucks aren't a great idea, or your sandals. You might want something a little bit more sustainable, especially if you have feet or back problems.
Especially if you have feet.
Right, just
not feet problems, but having feet.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, especially if you're going to be around water and you have to now consider a quick dry or whatever. Yeah. So there's that.
And that's backup clothes as well, and making sure you have that in your bag, because you always need backup clothes. Yes. You always need backup clothes. If you do not have backup clothes in your doula bag right now, I need you to go put them in.
We'll wait.
Because there's been multiple times that my backup clothes have come in handy.
Oh, nice. So. Advertising and marketing costs, and we're talking like your flyers, your business cards, the like rack cards, dropping off cookies to the local midwives to be like, hey, I'm a new doula. Those cookies have costs, and it's expensive.
And even the cost of, I don't know, childcare, so you can go have coffee with someone, or you can go to a networking event, or like that takes time, but time also is money in that way. And like I know sometimes I'm like, oh, I've spent a lot of time meeting people.
Yes. Yeah. I think another cost that we don't talk about is like how much it'll cost for Canva and Doula Match, and to be listed on this side and that side, and like
and your website and your domain fees, because websites usually charge monthly or yearly, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Another one is if you choose to become an LLC, that has costs. So does liability insurance, and again, I would highly recommend everyone to have liability insurance. I go through my own insurance company. Thanks. And so I was able to get it fairly inexpensive, and it rolled together, and it covers me. And I hate to say it, but I've called them twice to check if I was covered in a case, because there's been births I've attended where I'm like, I'm just gonna make a quick phone call. Yeah. We're good. I'm glad you're good, but I'm just
sometimes without even anything that you've done. Correct. Right?
Yeah.
Still can make you say, oh, like something was sketchy.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And also check out, because sometimes home warranties and renter's warranties, like, cover a lot of different things, so maybe check out that. That's just like a fun fact for everyone.
Fascinating.
Yeah. The other one is bank fees, Venmo fees, PayPal fees, all of that.
They all take something.
That's a part of those expenses. Branding, logos, that kind of stuff to help set you apart. And then your client management services. Yeah. And again, that's a part of more like hidden costs. Like for a while I had a plan only where like I paid for it because I was managing several like different accounts, and so that was a cost I didn't even think about of like, oh, there we go, there's costs.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and a lot of those are like yearly or monthly, and they do add up after a while. And especially in the beginning when you're maybe not making money or not charging enough, it's like those things hit a lot harder.
They do. I think the other ones to put in there is like if you're someone who needs to update their phone or buy a separate phone because you're like, I don't want to be bogged down with this phone, for that way I have an on-call phone versus a nut. Laptops, any sort of
internet connection is what you said. Yeah.
The thing that happened with me and my husband is I ended up needing a second car. Yeah. Because I couldn't keep driving our shared minivan to Burt's because it was causing issues. So a car was a part of my startup costs. Yeah. So these are all those things that you guys need to consider when like doing startup costs and all of that. And I mean, just based on a car alone, you know that I've spent more than $10,000. Let's just be real. So these are those things to consider.
And if it's not too, I'm glad we're talking about this realistically because I, again, was not explained all of this. And the more I dug into it, the more I was like, okay, it's going to take me a while to become profitable. Yeah. Right? If you spend $5,000, $10,000 on getting started up, how many clients are you going to need before you actually see a profit, right? Because if we're talking about a business, that's something you should be tracking.
For sure.
Right?
And again, I think it should be prefaced. Do you need to spend money on all of these things? Absolutely not. No. You don't have to. You don't have to have a website. You don't have to have like a particular person do your logos and your branding. Yeah. You don't even have to carry liability insurance. You don't have to become an LLC. You don't have to do any of these things. You could do literally zero startup costs. You could. Yeah. Just be aware that your steps forward might be a little bit different than everyone else. Yeah. And you might have, in some cases, a tougher path.
And look at what you need, right? Like, because I've talked to other doulas about this before, where it's like, if your plan is to really blow up your business and go full time, invest the money if you can, right? If this is a side business, if this is, oh, I want to doula for my friends when they get pregnant, I want to help my small community, whatever it is, you don't have to invest in all of that stuff, right? You don't have to go full force into it, right? You and I have gone full force into this because this is what we're doing, right? We're doing it fully. So what
I was laughing because I'm like, I should have written down starting a podcast with other doula as my startup costs.
Because that's cost us time and money and all the things, right? And a lot of effort and stuff like that. But it's you just have to think about what you need, right? Yes. Do you need to pay somebody a bunch of money for a logo? What are you trying to do? Right? Are you trying to set yourself apart, or are you already known in your community? Do you have enough connections to not need to be on those Facebook groups and on Doula Match? Like, you really have to take into account what you're walking into, and that's where I feel like there's not enough conversation, right?
For sure.
I should have known, but I'm not from here. I don't know anybody. And when I started this, I still knew nobody. I didn't know anybody, right? I literally am starting from scratch. Yeah. Starting from scratch with every person I know, every friend I know, every time someone refers me, that's something I specifically had to do in the last 2 years to get started, right?
No kidding.
So I want to go back and tell
Baby
Alex, like, you can do this, but it's going to take a lot longer than you think. Yeah. Right? It's going to take a lot more work than you think. It's going to take a lot more it'll pay off, right? We'll get there. But I didn't see this as my path. Like, I didn't see how hard this path was going to be.
And I think that's a completely fair point, because even someone where I just said, like, I fully expected this to be a business. I fully expected for me to get way over ambitious and have big goals and all of this. I still, on the daily, think of a former mentor of mine who used to call me Veruca Salt from Willy Wonka, being like, I want it now! Because that's completely me, where I'm still in this place of, like, building and growing, and I'm still like, man, why do I have to keep fucking investing, like, in this thing to, like, get it to the place that I want it to be? And it's okay to, like, be building it and for it to grow, because literally I'm the same one on this fucking podcast who told you guys, like, it's not hunting, it's gardening, right? So look, there's a reason I hand out the advice, because I'm literally in my own head every day, like, slow, steady, it's okay, it's going to take time, this investment will pay off, and it has to a certain extent. It has definitely paid off. I think from here, that cost needs to be in the back of your head when you go into what you charge clients. So hopefully you can make back your investment within the first year. And maybe two.
What is there's something people always say, small businesses take a certain amount of years on average to make a profit?
3 to 5.
3 to 5.
Yeah. That's also the amount of time it takes them to fail.
Yeah. Because most fail, right? So that's where it's, again, like, it's good to know that this is a business.
Correct.
Right?
It's hard.
When you go into it.
So 3 to 5. So whatever that number was. So we're just going to, for funsies, again, remember you guys have that piece of paper, right? I'm going to, for funsies, say that.
You get homework today.
Right, exactly. Is $10,000. So my goal in this, like, fantasy world of this math problem is that I would love to have 10 clients in my first year.
Okay.
That's not impossible. That's essentially 1 client a month plus, like, extra client here and there.
Yeah.
Not impossible. Would it take some hard work, sweat, and tears? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it would. Being someone who had 10 clients in their first year, it's possible. So
it's okay if you don't have 10 clients in your first year, guys.
It's also okay.
I did not.
Yeah, it's totally okay. So when we talk about that, keep that number in mind, and I'm just doing it because then it comes down to 1,000.
Yeah.
So then one of the things that a lot of people suggest is look at the average fee in your area. Here in Arizona, in our particular area of Arizona, it's $12.50 for just, again, I always feel weird saying just.
Yeah.
For services of a doula with 1 to 2 prenatals, support in person, 1 to 2 postnatals.
Yeah.
Okay, so $12.50, depending on who that individual is.
Which I think is a good thing to bring up, is that what other people in your industry are charging is going to
affect.
It's going to impact you.
Yes.
Right? Especially if you're looking at people who've been doing it for a long time, people who have more, like, standing in the community, agencies, that does go into effect.
Yes.
Right? And we don't, it sucks, right? But because, again, like I said at the beginning, this is an industry that not a lot of people know about.
Yeah.
And they don't know if they're hiring the good doula or the not good doula, or the doula that's right for them. Most people don't know, right? So there has to be an understanding of how that will impact what you can charge.
For sure. So then from there, you take that fee that you kind of want to charge.
$12.50 is our goal in this scenario.
Yep. And then we're going to subtract expenses.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and subtract, because we said for this one it's $1,000, so that way we can knock off that expense at the beginning. So we're down to $250, guys. Ooh, ouch. Now we got to do travel, which means your car, gas, parking fees that you acquired during that. Let's just say, to be kind, it was $70 to, like, have a full
for gas, for, we'll say 1 to 2 prenatals, going to their house maybe for like early active labor, going to the hospital.
Yes.
parking when you get to the hospital, and then you have to include the amount you take to get to the postpartum.
Yep. So we're going to say $70.
Yeah.
Right?
Should we be subtracting 1,000 from that?
Meaning?
So we subtracted 1,000 because we're trying to pay it off in the first year. Would it be more accurate to start putting like $250 per client to our 10,000?
Yeah, we could do that instead. Yeah, we could do it that way. So
let's be more conservative.
We'll be nicer. Fine. We'll be nicer.
I'm thinking realistically, if you have $1,250 in your account, probably gonna spend that.
Yeah. All right. So 70 comes off of that 1,000 because we put the 250 towards our 10,000 then.
Okay.
Alex is being much kinder to you guys. I'm obviously trying to like conquer the world still in this math.
You will conquer the world. We understand that. Some people just want to hang out.
Just hang. I get it.
Pay the rent.
I changed the vibe. So we're down to $950, but we have to think about did you eat?
Okay.
Because maybe you ate on the way over to that prenatal or during the midst of that birth, depending on how long it took. And I'm willing to say that's $15 to be kind.
Yeah.
Up to 30, truly, because like to do it multiple times or like pick up the coffee for that early birth and then like have the sandwich, the crappy sandwich at the hospital.
Yeah.
The sad one,
sad one.
The one that has no condiments on it and you bite into it and you're like,
so sad.
This was a turkey. I thought they would at least put mayonnaise.
So you'll say 30 for meals.
So that makes my math easy. We're down to $900.
Materials?
Right. Materials include things like I have prenatal books that I bring. I pay essentially a printer $2 for every book. Along with that, though, is like oils that I use or lotion or even like papers that I'm printing out, and all of that count as materials.
Yeah.
The 10 unit pads count as that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say for kind reasons, that's I would put that anywhere between $15 to $30 again, just off of each client. And again, you're bringing stuff for prenatals and then in the midst of the birth and then for postnatal.
Yeah.
I think 15 to 30 is like a conservative estimate. Yeah. What would you say?
I would say like more like 40.
All right.
That would be my...
we'll do higher on.
Yeah. Well, and I also want to consider that I know lots of doulas who bring gifts.
Yeah.
Right? Is that for
Oh my God, guys. You just hit a nerve with me. Gifts. Oh my God. Y'all with the fucking gifts.
What if gifting is their love language, Emmy? I'm so glad we're talking about this because Emmy...
Like, I feel very strongly about the gifts. Because I started with gifts. Because I got encouraged by a prior doula. Like, give gifts. Like, because then they'll, like, do reviews and it'll be great. But these people never posted about them. I ended up spending tons of money on these gifts. And when I say tons, I mean, like, $40. Like, anything over $10 per client is way too much. Yeah. And then, honestly, most people don't really want to put their kid in the onesie with your fucking logo on it. Like, I'm sorry to break it to you. They don't want to do it.
Which sucks, but...
It sucks, but why are you doing it?
Yeah.
So if you're going to do a gift, be clever with it, pull it into your branding, or make it something actually usable. Yeah. So that way, at least, if you want to be the gift giver, make it mean something.
My gift is the chapstick that I gave you in labor and the eye mask that I gave you in labor because I don't reuse those.
Oh, nice. My gift to clients is their timeline because I laminate those and then it's presented essentially as a gift to put into your baby book. But again, it's a fully like a trauma-informed tool. Yes. And then the other part of it is it's fucking free. Yeah. Yeah. I am paying essentially the equivalency of printing 10 cents per gift. Yeah. But I see y'all out there with them gifts. Like it's hard to not get waggy gifts. Fingers at y'all.
I'm a big gift giver. I can't talk
with
shit.
Your gifts. The gift that should be given is them gifting you.
Which has happened to me, and it's really sweet, and again, the best gift is
a 5-star review, and you tell your friends about me.
Tagging you in Facebook posts and like stuff like that. Yeah. Like all of that stuff's super valuable. And I find that, like, especially the clients you connect with, you're going to see that.
Yeah,
so.
For sure. So, I will now write that down as a cost for later when we go over it. But thanks, Alex. Now you guys, I know it's a hot take. I'm the only one who does not like gifts. Next one is childcare. Another tough one. When I'm talking about childcare, I also mean your best friend picking up your kid and watching them, even though they don't charge you, because more than likely you still picked up your best friend a cup of coffee on the way home.
Yeah,
or
hopefully.
that kid still needs to eat while they're over there and have diapers or wherever their stage is in life.
So I would love to know if you have heard of somebody having sustainable childcare situations.
I have. It's typically individuals, though, who have au pairs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an individual who's through an agency that's traveling from overseas to come and live in your home. They take up a space in your home, which, like, that's a cost, and you still pay them hourly. I had a similar situation with some of my childcare at one point. Some of the other people I've heard out there are living in situations where they have someone living with them who's like a roommate or a friend, along with their spouse or whoever it may be, and that's how childcare is done, or a grandparent doing it. Those are the kind of situations I've heard, or a spouse where that's their full-time job.
Or they have the ability to stay home, or and take over the responsibilities if those were your responsibilities in the first place.
For sure. One of the ways I make childcare more sustainable is I got a partner so that way I could trade on call.
Yeah.
So at least I'm aware of like when I need my childcare really going versus when I don't. So that can help mitigate some of those costs as well. But yeah, that's something in there. Guys, childcare is a beast and a half. Yeah. But I think that's probably one of the most common issues I hear. So here in the Valley, I know it's about $18 an hour for childcare.
Let's say that was like a 12-hour birth.
Yep. I'm doing math right now, which is $216. We're gonna round up because you were really nice to your person because I don't want to minus 16.
Yeah.
So we're looking at $860 minus $220, and so we're looking at $640 at this point, guys, after childcare.
And that's if it's a 12-hour birth, and that's if you were able to secure maybe free to inexpensive care for a prenatal, right? Yep. Prenatals and postpartums are pretty simple because you can schedule them.
Yes.
It's easier to make sure you have care that you don't have to pay for.
For sure. I think the next one is any sort of extra services you give. So, like I said, I offer belly binding. Yeah. Those belly binds cost $45 per one. Mm-hmm. I offset the costs with that of, like, it is an hour and a half visit. So essentially out of my pocket, that's close to $100. So I charge $140 to be able to do that, and I wrap that into other costs.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of that needs to be calculated in there. Let's just say cost literally is $100, so we're down to $540 for those extras.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But that would only be if you have a physical product, right?
Physical product, but I'm also talking like if you're doing a private childbirth class, like you still have to put that cost in there of like driving over, or if you're someone who's like, I don't know, you do like placenta paintings, like the cost of doing that. So that's why I'm making.
But you would hopefully be charging more for that. Please charge more for that.
For sure. So let's say the cost of whatever your extra services. Let's say there's multiple, it's $100. From there, having maybe you pay a backup.
Yeah.
Or that fee gets pulled out, so that's something that has to be considered. But the very biggest one I think that needs to be talked about is life costs.
Yeah.
Right? Like one that recently happened was to me the other day. It was my kid's first day of school. I got called at 3:30 a.m. to go into a birth, so I didn't get to do the first drop off of my kid going into kindergarten on the bus. And it sucks because I even remember Like, I'm at this birth, this person is fully given birth, they're just waiting to come out of the OR, and I'm watching the clock like, man, if they just 1 hour earlier, I could have made the bus.
Yeah.
And obviously it was fine. I was home by the time we could get them off the bus. I still got the cute moment, but there's plenty of other examples in my life where it's like, man, that party would have been fun to go to.
Yeah.
Or, maybe tonight it would have been cool to just hang out a little bit longer instead of going to bed on time.
So that I knew it, because I knew I was going to get called in for a birth.
Right, or the possibility was there.
Yeah.
Those life costs are real, and you guys need to consider them. And it might not be where it's pulling cash out.
Yeah.
But, it's there.
Just think about it.
Yeah. And then, so right now we're at 540. I can tell you on average, let's say, you had to call in that backup for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Let's say it's just for 2 or 3 hours. I know people are paying anywhere between $30 to $40 for hourly.
Yeah.
For a backup. I know for myself, I pay my backups beforehand, $250.
Yeah.
So,
which I don't know how many people do that.
Not many, but I do it because I want to make sure my backups treat the birth very seriously, so that way if they do get called, they're ready to be called in.
Yeah.
Because again, it's much easier to answer a phone when you know you're getting paid at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So essentially, if
I pay my backups, if they were there for the full amount of the birth, they get 60% of my fee.
There you go.
If they're just there for a few hours, I pay them $30 an hour with a minimum of 3 hours.
So let's say we called in our backup for 3 hours.
Well, so I think if we call in a backup, it's kind of null and void, right? Which is why I think people are so afraid of backups, is because if I call in a backup, I'm saying goodbye to 60% of my fee.
Yep.
So that's why it's important for me to make sure that I have not too many clients and I have a backup that I can really trust and rely on and that kind of stuff.
So this way you guys know what you are left with here. If you guys weren't following along with that math, let's say a backup was called in for the minimum of 3 hours.
Yeah.
At $40 an hour, that's $120. So we're down to $420 is what we made off of that birth.
Okay. And without backup, we're at $540.
So $540 to do this work.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Not great.
Not great. Not great. Not great. And we haven't even talked about the next part, which is taxes.
Yes. And so for taxes, you take the percentage of your profit. So that's your fee minus expenses. You find at least 15% of that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is $81. In our case, if we didn't call in that backup. So our actual profit at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls, and people all in between, is $459. That's what we get to go home with. Dudes, my friends, do you guys want to know, because we did say it was 10 hours, what you got paid hourly to do this birth? Do you guys want to know?
Was it 10 hours?
Because we said that we called childcare for 10 hours, so...
That was for 12.
For 12? Did we say 12? We did say 12.
I think it was 12.
So...
For 12 hours and prenatals, postnatals.
So with that would be, let's say it's 2 hours for prenatal. 1 to 2 for
I ended up being there for 2 for postpartum.
Yeah, so an extra 4 hours then. So divide by 16. 459 divided by 16. You guys can tell I'm stalling because I'm not awesome at math. $28.68 per hour.
Yeah.
To give you guys an idea, I typically see doula services valued between $30 to $40 an hour.
Yeah.
So you guys are with this average fee, allegedly. Not saying everyone does this at this amount of expense rates or whatever, or even are paying themselves back to pay off their initial investment, is $28.68 an hour.
So let's say we've already paid off our... So we add the $250 back. So say we've already paid off our initial expenses, or we're literally like, I don't care.
Right.
Doesn't matter to me. They're gone. Whatever.
Yep. I hear you. So that's $709.
Because I couldn't tell you how much I spent in my first year. I have no idea if I'm profitable or not. I
really
didn't have
sad.
a QuickBooks. I was just going.
Wow.
I was just holding on.
Let's say you did an Alex and you're like, sure.
Oh, by 16.
Oh, yep. Let's say you were an Alex and you were like, whatever. I invested into this business and it was a lot of monies. But we don't have to worry about that. That's for future Alex.
It has truly become future Alex's problem. Just so you know. Do not recommend. Do not recommend that train.
But that bumps us up to $709 is essentially what we got paid with this birth. And that means hourly it was $44.31. So a little bit happier of a number, right?
Yeah.
But it is
sorry, go ahead.
It is something to consider when we are doing these breakdowns. The reason I find these breakdowns so important is when I've done these with doulas, and Alex has literally seen me do it, of like, what are you doing, friend? I want you to stay in this for a long time. I want you to get paid. And they're looking at it like, I'm losing money. How did I not realize I was losing money?
Because we started with a $1,250. We've known people, I used to charge $900.
Right.
We've known people charge less than that. You really can lose money.
Yes.
Doing this if you're not careful. And this, of course, is like the best case scenario because births are not only 12 hours, right?
Nope.
Births can be much longer than that. You can go back and forth a couple times. There's so much other things that happen.
That sandwich can be way more than $15 for the sad sandwich.
Or maybe you need 4 meals instead of 1.
Yeah.
Or like there's so much more variables. And by charging a little more, it allows you to have that wiggle room in there.
Yes.
And it sucks to look at that number, honestly, and think about how many people charge $700 or $900 or, right? And like, that's tough.
I'm okay with you guys charging whatever you charge if you've actually done these breakdowns and you can tell me what your profit margins are.
Yeah.
Look, not everyone's in this to make money, and I am fully for that.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that you guys know that you're worth that money. Yeah. You've received education, whether it was paid for or through mentorship or through like ancestral knowledge, whatever that was. You're full of knowledge. You're doing a service that not a lot of people do, and it's valuable. You're giving up, again, life costs.
Yeah.
That we need to consider.
Oh, and the thing we didn't talk about with life costs is like, how often are you answering the phone? How often are you texting your client? If your client hires you at 12 weeks, how much communication do you have? How many times have you had to stop what you're doing to research something? Yeah. Or, send evidence along, right? That's all part of our job. And it's not to say, like, don't do those things. It's to say, like, we should be valued for those things and paid for those things. Because there are people who don't want to do this for money and don't need to do this for money. And I think that's amazing. But, like, to truly do this forever, we do need to make it sustainable, right? We see so few doulas who are doing this for a long time. And that sucks.
Yes.
Right? We see midwives who have been doing this for 20, 30 years, right? We're not seeing the same amount of doulas who are doing that.
Right.
And I feel that there's probably a reason for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess the next one is spiritually. I know that some people have a hard time hearing that they need to be charging more, accepting that they're worth more.
Yeah.
What is like a piece of advice that you would give for them to be at peace with, like, I know this is average, but I'm going to charge a little bit more than average, or like, I'm going to change my pricing because I looked at this number and Emmy did all that math with me and she would not like my number.
Yeah.
What would you say?
It's the cheesy shit, right? Where it's like, you cannot care for other people if you don't care for yourself. And I really, really 100% believe that. It's not like a platitude. Like, when I was at a birth thinking like, I didn't get paid for this. I'm losing money to be here. That is a shitty thing to think.
Yeah.
I did not feel great about thinking that, right?
No.
I felt like, and of course, there's no negative energy towards the person I was there for. I was 100% there for them. But I thought that, and I said, oh, that's why I should be getting paid for this.
Yes.
Because I am literally losing money and time and all of this stuff to be here, and I want my whole self to be here. Mm-hmm. When I go to a birth, I'm not thinking about what's going on at home, right? I'm not thinking about the other stuff in the world or the stuff that I could be doing because I'm being compensated to be there, right? And I have developed relationships with these people and I want to be there. So if I am trying to figure out how I'm going to pay rent and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to feed myself, or if I have enough money for the crappy sandwich, like, it pulls you away from what we're there for.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not easy work. We put so much into this.
Yes. For
people that we don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
A lot of times that we don't know.
Yeah, right? A lot of times, right? That we don't know.
Yeah.
It's so important that you can put your full self there. And I think we live in capitalism, that making sure that you are being paid to be there is important.
Yeah, for sure. Like, speaking of capitalism, the one that really got me was I was working at the Disney store and someone said, how much do you sell? How much is your life worth per hour here? And I had that like, oh shit, every hour I am literally selling an hour of my life to Disney for $15 an hour. Oh God.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it really hits you when you hear it in that kind of context. Yeah. And I want to be worth more to my clients than that. Yeah. And I know that they value me more than that, right? Yeah. Which is why I don't work in retail anymore. But like, fully understand that, like, when we do these breakdowns, that's essentially what you're selling an hour of your life for.
Yeah.
Because you can't get that hour back.
Yeah.
And if it is more valuable when you look at that number to be with your kid or your spouse or doing something else, yeah. Or you would love to be with this person, but like you have to make money in a different way.
Yeah.
Then find a different route or charge more. Yeah. Because there'll be always someone who will charge less than you, but that's up to them to figure it out between them. Yeah. And what they're willing to charge an hour of their life for. And that's what we talk about a lot too, and I know I've said it a lot, is like, do you want to be picked because you are charging the least, right? Because we're not talking in this scenario, we're not talking about charging less because you're a community doula or you're really trying to support people who have less. A lot of times it's like, I'm going to charge less so people pick me. Right. Right? Is that the race to the bottom is just to the bottom, guys. It's just to the bottom. And the bottom leads out. So it just leads out.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest one is, like, when you talk about community doulas, obviously there's nonprofits out there that operate off of grants and personal donorship, but a lot of those doulas still get paid decently through those programs, right?
So there may not be cost to the clients, but they're getting paid, which they should be.
Right, for sure.
Right.
The other part is, what if you're someone who's like, all right, I'm willing to charge more, but I still want to give back because, man, I know what it's like to be given that speech of, like, there's really bad maternal mortality rate.
Perinatal mortality rate.
Thanks. Rate going on. And there's a ton of issues inside of our system. And ultimately, I understand that, and I'm here to, like, fight against the system and be an advocate and dedicate my life to this. How can we do that sustainably, Alex? Yeah. I know you do something that's really cool.
Yeah. So for me personally, I take 10% of everything I make, and it goes into a mutual aid fund. And that looks like when I see things, it's very informal. That's why I don't tell people about it. If I see people in the community, I follow a lot of mutual aid places. You know, someone's looking for X amount of money to pay their rent or to not get evicted. Or I see there's quite a few really great nonprofits in our area that I will send those funds to. So I just put them to the side. I know for every time someone hires me, I have X amount of money. And when I see that, I divert those funds. I also offer scholarships with all of my classes. And I call it a scholarship. It's truly just me saying, you can be here for free, right? It's costing my time. It's costing $6 for the workbook, right? That is something I'm totally comfortable giving back for. Does not bother me at all to do so.
Yeah.
That's all I have right now. Right?
For now.
Yeah.
For now.
So
one of the things I do is nonprofits get a severely discounted version. Like, it's the full version of my trainings, but it's severely discounted for them.
Which is awesome, yeah.
I mean, it basically costs me money to do it, but it's so that way those nonprofits have access for their doulas to get this kind of trainings.
Yeah.
The other things that I do is a lot of times I'll offer, like, free spots to people for our education in particular, because that's something I can do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, so I started up now donating at least 10% to the abortion funds out there, because that's something that really sticks with me, and it has to be done in my opinion. Because I'm not willing to sit back. But that's part of the ways that I give back.
Yeah. That's where some of my funds recently went.
Right. And you don't, and like, this is all to say, maybe right now is not that time where you can give back.
Yeah.
And that's all right. One day you'll reach it. And I know you will, because you're listening to this and you're a fire starter and you're going to do it. But just know that, like, it's okay in the beginning if you don't have a plan for giving back.
Yeah. And there's also, you know, the amount of money I can provide is capped. You can provide your time, right?
Yes.
Volunteering your time in your community is so, so powerful and so beneficial. You can do that as well, right?
Yeah.
You can share nonprofits, you can share mutual aid things, you can share all of that stuff. You can volunteer your time. All of that stuff is still a way to give back.
Yep.
Right?
For sure.
You know?
Yeah, so just a reminder, guys, like, to be kind to yourself. When you guys go through this math problem, I would love to see the results.
Yes.
You don't even have to say, you could just shoot a message on this Discord being like, did the math problem, didn't like it, or loved it, turns out I'm doing great. Like, I would love to hear both sides.
And it's not to shame anybody, right? We just want you to know that you are worth more. And if we are thinking about this from a business standpoint and from a sustainable standpoint, we want you to get paid for what you're worth, because this is such a valuable thing.
Yes.
And such a valuable, I don't even want to call it a job, valuable
career, business,
whatever it is,
service.
Right? Service, I think, is great, because we are really serving people that we want you to get paid.
I think the word is calling.
Yeah.
Because that's truly what I believe this is. It's a calling, and you guys deserve to stay in this calling.
Yeah.
So, here's to you hearing this episode and being like, I didn't need nothing to this. And I hope you guys join us next time, where we talk about more fun things for fire starters. And you have any plugs for us?
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch.
Talking of sustainability.
Buy our merch.
Because we would love to make this sustainable for us,
We are fully volunteering our time to be
right.
But it's okay, because it's the only, we know that every week we will at least hang out once.
Yep.
So that is the benefit to us.
For sure. But yeah, buy our merch and
join our Discord.
And also know that this is all going to be okay. You can fully run a business, guys.
You're doing a good job.
You are.
Your doula moms are proud of you.
Every time I see you guys, tears in my eyes. Every time.
Aww.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's a good way to end. We love you.